Hello there you guys, welcome to one of my videos. Borussia Dortmund have set a 154 million asking price for Erling Halland. Now Ole Gunnar Solskjaer keeps calling Erling Halland to persuade him to join Manchester United. And it said prior to that, we had an advantage in the Erling Haaland transfer chase. There's a good chance Halland will leave in the summer transfer window, especially if Borussia Dortmund fail to qualify for the Champions League. But earlier on this season, Solskjaer said he was following Erling Haaland's progress and he was keeping in touch with him. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer worked with Erling Haaland during his time at Molde. Solskjaer gave him his debut at just the age of 16. Back in December 2019, Solskjaer and Woodward went to Norway to meet up with Erling Haaland to negotiate a possible move to Manchester United. Erling Haaland has a £68 million release clause, but it doesn't become active until next year. But there has been so many clubs in for him. But the reasons I take him at Manchester United is because he would dramatically improve us, he would assure us goals, he's still young, he's got a lot of development in him, and plus, Solskjaer well. Erling Haaland has been at Dortmund over the year, and since his arrival at Dortmund he's been a revelation. Dortmund paid just £17 million for him, and he's got a contract with Dortmund until 2024. His agent, Mino Raiola, said earlier on this season that there's around 6 clubs in England that can afford Haaland. Now, you obviously know the news on Rafael Varane from Real Madrid. It's very, very likely that he will be leaving Real Madrid. Mundo Deportivo have already said that Rafael Varane's future is in doubt. He's high on our transfer wish list. I think Rafael Varane is valued at £60 million. I'd certainly take him at Manchester United. He's a world-class centre-half. He'd go very well alongside Harry Maguire in our back line. Rafael Varane has endured 10 years at Real Madrid. He's made over 300 appearances and he's won 18 major honours. Real Madrid paid €10 million for him from Lens back in 2011. He's got a contract with Real Madrid until 2022. Back in 2018, Woodward was prepared to sanction a £100 million move. But there's been a few centre-halves on our agenda. Apparently, Pau Torres from Villarreal is interested in coming to Man United. We could be ready to launch a bid. He's available for around £52 million at the end of the season because that's his release clause, but we believe we can get him for less than his £52 million release clause. To be honest with you, I don't really know much about him. Jules Koundé, he's been another centre-half on our agenda. I'd take him at Manchester United. He'd go very well alongside Maguire in our back line. Jules Koundé's performances for Sevilla this season have been outstanding. He's been at Sevilla almost 2 years. He's got a contract with them till 2024. Sevilla paid £22 million for him from Bordeaux in the summer of 2019. The last time I read up regarding Jules Koundé, it said we'd been handed a boost in our bid to sign him because Sevilla had lowered their asking price for Jules Koundé to £50 million. So they'd knocked like £20 million off because originally Sevilla were demanding £70 million plus add-ons. Kalidou Koulibaly, he's been another centre-half on our agenda, and so too as Sergio Ramos. This year's summer transfer window is the biggest in Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's managerial career. And I think there's a good chance that Solskjaer's going to get the backing he deserves. Because obviously we've got John Murtough. He's our director of football. And it was the right decision by the club to get a director of football in, because I did mention that it was one of the structural changes that we needed at the club. And John Murtough knows the club through thick and thin. Obviously Darren Fletcher, he's our technical director. And he knows the club through thick and thin because he endured 2 decades as a player for Man United. And Woodward believes Ole is the right man to take the club forward, and he did say in a statement earlier on this season that the progress by Solskjaer and the players this season is clear. So in that aspect, Woodward is backing him. But Solskjaer's already had the transfer summit with our new recruitment team. Obviously, he was discussing our transfer targets and discussing our transfer plans for the summer in general. I can identify the weaknesses in our squad. We need a striker. I think we need a right winger. We need a defensive midfielder. We need a centre half, and we have also been in search for a right back to provide competition for Wan-Bissaka. Now, it said the other week that our transfer budget has been revealed. It's £80 million. We know that's not enough for us to get the players that we want in. So it did say that Solskjaer's planning to sell at least 4 players to bolster our transfer budget, and he's hoping to raise as much as £60 million. So that'd take our transfer budget to £140 million. Solskjaer did warn earlier on this season that we may not do business as usual due to the pandemic, but he said he's interested in bringing in players that will be a perfect fit for the club. But Ed Woodward has come out several times to show his support for Ole. And he did say towards the end of last year that he will back him with a long-term plan centred around summer transfer windows. And even enjoying them bad periods, Woodward assured that Solskjaer's job was safe. Our board have got a really soft stance on Ole, with him being a club legend. And I think the main explanation why he's still Man United manager is because he's a club legend. So that's what has saved him. Disregarding him being a club legend, I don't think he'd have been Manchester United manager now. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has agreed a 3-year contract worth £30 million. It's likely to be 2 years with an option of an extra 1. So Ole has been given a pay rise. Sources at Old Trafford said the other week that talks were set to begin any day on the new deal, because obviously Ole's into the final year of his current 3-year contract. Does he deserve a new contract though? In some aspects, yeah. In some aspects, no. Solskjaer's still staying at Manchester United if we fail to win a trophy. The Europa League is our only chance of winning any silverware this season. And Solskjaer must win a trophy at Manchester United because he's not yet won a trophy, and we haven't won a trophy since 2017, and that's nowhere near good enough to our standards. A club of our stature needs to be winning trophies. But Solskjaer did say not so long ago that winning trophies is an ego thing. He said that in regards to some other managers and some other clubs. And he says clubs like Man United, trophies no longer prove success. But Danny Murphy recently came out and said that Solskjaer will be sacked if Man United fail to win the Europa League. I can assure he isn't the long-term manager for Manchester United, but I can assure he will be Man United manager next season. Next season will be his third full season at the club. This is his second full season at the moment. It wouldn't really solve anything if we decided to sack Solskjaer anyway, because when we have been inconsistent, not all of the blame has stemmed from him. And as far as I'm aware at the moment, there's no one available anyway to replace him. I do definitely believe that we need a bigger name in. We need someone who's got that big club arrogance and someone who's got a proven pedigree. Obviously, Solskjaer doesn't have any of this. And I think Ollie's in a position that he shouldn't be really in. But I think the club made a mistake by giving him the job. Did we give him it too soon? Should we wait until the end of that particular season to decide or not whether to give him the job? But I've got to say he is our best manager since Ferguson. We have enjoyed very good periods under Ollie where we have seen consistency and where he has got the best out of the team. But we've also enjoyed very, very bad periods under him where you can turn around and say, yeah, he was lucky not to be sacked. But reflecting how long Solskjaer's been at the club, he has gained some managerial experience. Man United is the third club, is it, in his managerial career? Before he was with us, he was at Molde. He won a few Norwegian titles at Molde, but they're not a big club. And before he was at Molde, he was at Cardiff, and his record at Cardiff was absolutely disastrous. He got Cardiff relegated, so he got sacked from them, and he managed the Man United reserve team for a couple of years, so he watched some of this team grow and develop. And Solskjaer knew when he'd taken over at Man United in December 2018 that it was going to be a massive job for him, despite him knowing the club through thick and thin. But there is a lot of positives to take in regards to Solskjaer. I think he has made good signings as Manchester United manager. He's spent almost £300 million. He's enjoyed 4 transfer windows so far as permanent Man United manager. But as yet, Solskjaer hasn't got all the players that he wanted to recommend in. Hopefully that changes in the summer transfer window. Solskjaer's brought players like Dan James and Wan-Bissaka and Harry Maguire in. Also brought Bruno Fernandes in and Odion Ighalo in on loan. And also brought the likes of Donny van de Beek in, Alex Telles, Edison Cavani, Facundo Pellistri and Amad Diallo Traore. And I do also like the way that Ollie has promoted the youth. You know, Ollie's brought more young players in and he's given young players their chances. Solskjaer's also got rid of a lot of players since he's come in. We saw a few players leaving the January transfer window. We saw Jesse Lingard go out on loan to West Ham. We saw Tiedemann Mengi go out on loan. We saw Facundo Pellistri go out on loan. Odion Ighalo said his farewells to the club. Marcus Rojo left and Timothy Fosu-Mensah left. And in the other transfer windows, Solskjaer's enjoyed. A lot of other players have gone. Obviously, we've seen the likes of Young and Valencia leave. There were 2 long-serving players at Man United. I also saw Darmian leave. Saw Smalling leave. Smalling was a long-servant at the club. Also seen Fellaini leave. He left in January 2019. Saw Herrera leave. Saw Angel Gomez leave, Sanchez leave, Lukaku leave. You know, we've also loaned quite a few players out, haven't we? You know, we loaned Diego Dalot out to AC Milan. Loaned James Garner out. Loaned Dylan Levitt out. Loaned Tahith Chong out. And I think we also loaned Joe Pereira out again for another season. And Ollie did well last season in his first full season at the club. You know, he guided us to 3 semi-finals, got us qualification for the Champions League and got us a 3rd place finish. You know, that was the second highest we've finished since Ferguson. So you can say there has been progress made from last season. And this season, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer got us to the EFL Cup semi-final, got us to the FA Cup quarters, and he's got us to the Europa League quarters, and we are unbeaten away from home in the Premier League for over a year. I think we are unbeaten in our last 22 Premier League away games. And in some games, Solskjaer has showed tactical flexibility, but I don't think he's showed tactical flexibility enough. He's got to show it persistently, because in the vast majority of his games at Man United, he's actually been tactically naive. And I did say one of my biggest concerns about him is his decision making. And Solskjaer, has beaten a few big managers as Manchester United manager. Obviously, he's beat Pep Guardiola about a good 4 or 5 times. He's beaten Jose Mourinho. He's beaten Thomas Tuchel twice. That's when Tuchel was PSG manager. He's beaten Julian Nagelsmann. He's beaten Carlo Ancelotti a few times as Ole as well. That's another one. He's a big name. Beaten Jurgen Klopp in the FA Cup. So, there is a few. But in the last 8 years, nothing's changed at Manchester United. It's just been an ongoing cycle of inconsistency. We've sacked 3 managers since Ferguson retired, and that was David Moyes. We sacked him after 10 months. He's the worst manager we've ever had. We finished 7th under the David Moyes era. Lowest we've finished in the Premier League era. We sacked Louis van Gaal after 2 years, despite him winning the FA Cup. And we sacked Jose Mourinho after 2.5 years, despite him winning 3 trophies in his first season at Manchester United, and also got a second. So you can say Mourinho did enjoy one good season. We haven't only had different managers with different philosophies, For a long time, our recruitment policy's been poor. We've overpaid for players. And in general, the managers that we've had since Ferguson retired haven't got the players they wanted to recommend in. So definitely in that aspect, the blame stems from the board. And I've already mentioned so many times that the board's been one of the biggest issues at the club for a while. We've spent over £1 billion on players since Ferguson retired, and we've brought a good, 37 players in. Mistakes have been made as well in the last 8 years. That's why we haven't been as consistent as we'd like to have been. In the summer transfer window, Manchester United are going to sell players. I can assure that. I think there's a good chance that Cavani will leave in the summer transfer window. Maybe there's quite a lot of Man United fans that would like to see him stay for next season. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is hopeful that Edinson Cavani will stay, and Solskjaer has revealed we've been in contract discussions with Edinson Cavani. But earlier on this season, Ole said he was closer to Boca Juniors and staying at Man United, and his father came out a few weeks ago and said that Cavani is unhappy. And he doesn't feel comfortable in England and he wants to leave. Now, Footballer Insider said not so long ago that Cavani had reached a verbal agreement with Boca Juniors to join them at the end of the season. If he leaves in the summer transfer window, we won't receive a transfer fee because Edinson Cavani's current contract expires in June. Cavani's sustained a few injuries at Man United, but I think he's made a fantastic impact since he's come in. We got him on a free transfer last summer. He signed a 1-year contract with the club with an option of a 2nd year. There's a lot of Man United fans that are saying we need to sell Anthony Martial in the summer. Because Martial, let's be honest, he's been out of form for the vast majority of this season. He's had chances, but he hasn't converted them. So he's been heavily criticised. But earlier on this season, Solskjaer backed Martial to rediscover his form. and he said he's been impressed with Martial's work rate. He has just come back from a hip injury, and he had an injury just before that. I think Martial's probably had 2 good seasons because he was good last season and he was good in his debut season under Louis van Gaal. He has been at the club now over 5 years. We got him for 54 million from Monaco back in 2015, and I think it was last season Solskjaer gave him that number 9 shirt. Juan Mata, a good chance we'll get rid of him in the summer transfer window because Juan Mata doesn't get in our 11. Juan Mata's current contract expires in June, but there is an option to extend his contract for a further year. Now, earlier on this season, Ollie said he wasn't surprised that Juan Mata was linked to a move away from the club, and I heard 3 Italian clubs were in for him. Earlier on this season, he rejected an 18 million a year contract offer to play in Saudi Arabia, Juan Mata. But I think he's had a good career at Man United. You know, he's been at the club over 6 years. We got him in a deal worth £40 million from Chelsea back in 2014. But my element of concern about him now, he's lost that yard of pace and he's in his 30s. Good chance we'll sell Matic in the summer transfer window because he isn't one of our first choice midfielders, but he still gets his chances. And he's had some good games at Man United, but analysing the vast majority of his games, he's been very, very inconsistent. And I think the club made a mistake by giving him that new 3-year contract. But he's always been a static player. Matic has been at the club almost 4 years. We got him in a deal worth £40 million from Chelsea back in 2017. Good chance that Donny van der Beek's going to go in the summer transfer window. Because Donny van der Beek isn't getting enough chances at Manchester United. He has actually just come back from injury. Now, like I updated you yesterday, Donny van der Beek has suffered another setback in his career because he was an unused substitute in Netherlands' 4-2 defeat to Turkey in Istanbul. Mark Hughes has been talking about Van der Beek recently, and he says he looks lost at Manchester United and he's edging closer to a Man United exit. But he recently said that Donny van der Beek feels loved at the club despite his lack of game time. Prior to that, he said he's threatened to quit Man United after 1 season due to his lack of game time, and it said he wanted to hold talks with Ed Woodward over his future. Now, earlier on this season, Ollie made an admission saying that Donny van der Beek's obviously unhappy at the club due to his lack of game time, but he promised him more game time at Man United. We got him in a deal worth £40 million, and he's versatile. He can play in 3 different roles. ESPN said back in January that we rejected several loan offers for Donny van der Beek because we was reluctant to let him go. Fred, do you reckon we could sell him in the summer transfer window? Fred was absolutely abysmal in our 3-1 defeat to Leicester in the FA Cup quarter-final. Gave the ball away countless times and he was accountable for Leicester City's first goal. It's probably the worst game he's endured in a Manchester United shirt, and Fred certainly wasn't worth the £52 million that we got him for from Shakhtar Donetsk. But he has had some good games. Paul Pogba, we could still sell him in the summer transfer window. Now, reliable journalist Fabrizio Romano has said Juventus are refusing to give up on re-signing Pogba, and he said Ronaldo is key to Paul Pogba's exit. Now, Paul Pogba's agent held talks with Juventus in Milan last week, was it? Mino Raiola is desperate to get his client out of the football club. Mino Raiola doesn't have a good relationship with Man United and he has been criticised a lot. He did say, though, earlier on this season he's got no intentions of destabilising his client's season, and he mentioned that he's working quietly on Paul Pogba's transfer to avoid offence. He made an announcement back in December regarding Paul Pogba, and Solskjaer was furious with Mino Raiola's announcement because it was just before the game against RB Leipzig in the Champions League. But there ain't only been narratives of him going back to Juventus. He's been relentlessly linked to a move to Real Madrid, and PSG have been in for him. He has had a long-running transfer saga. But Ollie is hopeful that Paul Pogba will stay and sign a new contract. We have been in contract discussions with Pogba, but as far as I'm aware at the moment, we've not yet made a formal contract offer. Paul Pogba just come back from a thigh injury not so long ago. He had an ankle injury earlier on this season, and he was out for the vast majority of last season with an ankle injury. So he's sustained a few injuries now at Man United. But we've been getting the best out of him in recent months. That's before he got the thigh injury. And he delivered the goods in Milan, didn't he? Came on, scored and made an instant impact. I wanted to keep Paul Pogba potentially past the summer because he's an imperative player. He brings creativity to the team, and I think we need to keep him on the left wing, which is more of an advanced role because that's where he's more effective. Disregarding Paul Pogba though, we lack creativity. He's our most expensive signing at the moment because we paid £89 million for him, and this is his 5th season at the football club since he rejoined. I reckon we'd get from between 60 to 70 million if we sell him in the summer transfer window. Phil Jones, I want him to leave as well. Phil Jones doesn't get in our 11. He's very inconsistent anyway. You know, this is Phil Jones' 10th season at the club, being a long servant, and he's the only outfield player that's still here from the Sir Alex Ferguson era. Romero, also expecting him to go. De Gea, there's a good chance we'll sell him in the summer transfer window so we can make Dean Henderson our first choice goalkeeper. De Gea's now had his years at the club. And Lingard and Delors, I'm expecting us to get rid of them two permanently. Eric Bay, do you think he could also leave? Bay has recently apologised to Solskjaer and his teammates for his disrespectful behaviour because it said Bay was furious with Solskjaer because he felt disrespected and not wanted by him, and Bay believes that we're only offering him a new contract to simply increase his asking price. Bay's got like 15 months left on his current contract. But I wanted to keep Bay potentially past the summer because he's a good centre-half. My only element of concern about him is injury prone. So we'd generate a substantial amount if we sold all them players that I've just mentioned to you in the summer transfer window. It would certainly help us with our rebuilding process. But there's a lot of players, that will stay at Man United potentially past the summer. But we haven't been the same team since the Ferguson era. Like I've already said to you, no manager at Manchester United or no manager in general is going to replicate what Ferguson did. Ferguson brought success to Manchester United. He won 30-odd trophies, including 13 Premier League titles, and he endured a 27-year tenure, so he was a long-serving manager. No one will ever last as long as he did. But Ferguson didn't settle in straight away because he didn't win out in his first 4 years at the club. So we've got to accept that whenever the team was under Ferguson, but obviously want to get back to winning trophies in that because that's what Manchester United's about. We are one of the biggest clubs in the world. We haven't won the Premier League since 2013, so that's 8 years ago now. So anyway guys, that's everything to update you today. Drop your comments, likes below on the channel. If you do, consider subscribe as always, and take care. God bless. See you all again very, very soon.